This presentation regards Occupy Wall Street. What was it, why did it happen, and why does it matter today? For those who aren't familiar with the topic, Occupy Wall Street was a movement that began on September 17, 2011, in New York City's financial district, a hotspot in New York for all things protest. The movement was sparked by Adbusters, an anti-consumerist magazine based out of Canada. It centered around social economic equality and was against the 1%, the greed, the corruption, and the corporate influence on the government. Protesters carried signs branding debt, quote-unquote, slavery, and calling for country's leadership to, quote-unquote, make jobs, not war, and put people before profits. Time and time again, we uncover prime examples of where our country's systematic and foundational issues bleed into present-day problems, and we find just that when we dust off the workings of Occupy Wall Street. Income inequality was the heavy hitter for the movement, as research has shown that the gap between the rich and the poor has grown increasingly larger in the past few decades. In fact, between 1979 and 2007, household income increased 275% for the wealthiest 1% of households. The bottom fifth only increased 18%. Due to statistics similar to this, the movement coined with the slogan, quote-unquote, "We are the 99%. This refers to the overemphasized focus in America on the 1%. Protesters were met with a variety of roadblocks during their stance, such as unethical police surveillance and the arrest of over 7,000 people nationwide. When protesters first arrived in the New York financial district, police had blocked off Wall Street, so people just moved to nearby Zuccotti Park, where they would stay for nearly 2 months. As the movement gained media coverage, its message spread, and Occupy camps began forming around the nation, ending up in over 100 U.S. cities. Camps made decisions using a modified consensus process and developed people libraries, which were just piles of books available for anyone to read at their leisure. While the message of income inequality grew, so did pressure on city officials to break up the camps. On November 15, 2011, police raided Zuccotti Park and forced protesters to leave. After the disbandment of the camp in New York, the movement continued but with less momentum. By mid-2012, the movement had lost its initial spark and was falling into relative obscurity. The movement faced general criticisms, with people feeling there were no clear leaders, no hard-hitting demands, or real structure in place. The group had difficulty getting its message of creating financial upward mobility across, and was instead seen as just demonizing the rich. All of these factors led to the eventual end of the movement. However, from it, we gained a new model for social movements, a spotlight on income inequality in America, and a focus and commitment to resolving the issues presented in Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street represents that Americans can and should take matters into their own hands and disrupt the systems they believe no longer serve them. 8 years later, and in the face of perceived injustice and wrongdoings, it is clear that occupiers across the country will continue to rise up time and time again. Economic inequality has been a social justice issue for many years, and the social and economic infrastructure of society in our country will deplete if the top 1% continues to earn more income. If the top 1% keeps earning and staying at the top, what will happen to the other 99%? We believe that everyone should have a chance to earn and be as successful as they want to be in life. But with the 1% holding some of that opportunity back, it's hard for others to succeed as they wish. With that being said, the economy could prosper in a better way if the 1% shared or gave back some of their wealth, so that others could not take from them, but rather earn their own money.